Hello, my name is Olivier Langlois, and on behalf of the Federal Youth Network, I would like to welcome you to our virtual learning series. I would like to begin by acknowledging that I'm here on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and I encourage all of you to acknowledge the land you are on as well. As we move through today's session, please share your comments in the chat space and questions by using the Q&A button in the language of your choice. You can vote for the questions you like by clicking on the thumbs up button. Please note that this session will also take place in French on another link at 2:30 p.m. Veuillez noter que cette session prendra place en français à partir d'un autre lien à 14h30. This is the last event of the Get to Know Your Team series, during which we will explore ways to engage individuals and create stronger, healthier teams using a variety of tools. Today, we will take a dive into appreciation at the workplace. Why is it important and how to give it? Without further ado, I will pass off the mic to Hudson, who will be our moderator for today. Up to you, Hudson.
Thank you so much, Olivier, for the lovely introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you to this session about appreciation at work. My name is Hudson. I'll be your moderator for this session today. And before I introduce you to our guest panels, I want to share a few polling questions. I believe you should start seeing them popping up on your screen by now. So if you don't mind, please take a few seconds to submit your responses. Okay, I believe that should be enough time. So can the host quickly display the results, please? And I'll just quickly verbalize the results. So, okay, we got a pretty mixed response here. So do people feel appreciated at work? We got 50% saying sometimes, and 43% saying yes. And do you know what it would take for you to feel appreciated? 36% has said yes, I have experienced it. Nobody said no. Some people said they never thought about it. And lastly, do you show appreciation to others at work? People, I'm seeing yes always and yes often as the most popular response. So that being said, this week is the National Public Service Week. So what better time is there to discuss about employee appreciation? Research suggests that employees who feel valued experience higher levels of job satisfaction, healthier relationships, and decreased cases of burnout. And so by the end of this session, we hope you will be able to explain the benefits of expressing appreciation to your colleagues, list the types of appreciation, and identify multiple ways of demonstrating appreciation in a hybrid workspace. And with that, it is with great pleasure to introduce you to our panelists for this session, Anu Shukla-Jones and Gina Sekramuzzi. So I'm going to quickly pass the mic to Anu, followed by Gina for a very, very brief self-introduction. Then we will move into our conversation with our set of preset questions. And then lastly, we will leave maybe 10 minutes or so for audience question and answer. So Anu, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Hudson, and thank you all very much for the invitation to be here today. My name is Anu Shukla-Jones. I am a senior advisor at the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, and I do a lot of volunteer work in my spare time around equity, diversity, and inclusion issues, as well as advocating for mental health. So, when I think about appreciation, I think about what appreciation looks like from a lot of different dimensions. So hopefully I can bring some of those perspectives here today. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Gina.
Thanks. So my name is Gina Scaramuzzi. I'm currently the Senior Manager for Strategic Planning and Business Management for Regional Operations at the Labor Program here at ESDC. I am certified in Appreciation at Work, which is designed to help employees understand how they feel appreciated, help managers understand how to appreciate and show that appreciation to their colleagues and their employees. I spent about 12 years at the Canada School of Public Service, and so I've delivered a lot of workshops on this topic and on engagement, and I'm really happy to be here today and wish you all a happy National Public Service Week.
Thank you so much. And with that, I would like to just jump straight into our preset questions. And the first one's going to Anu. So in general, what is the benefit of employees feeling appreciated?
That's a great question. The public service is a really diverse place to work in. So there's a lot of different ways of being, ways of doing, and showing appreciation and recognizing everyone's contributions for what they are is really important for belonging. So I think that, when I think about appreciation at work, it motivates me to do a good job. It motivates me to do the best job that I can on behalf of the people I'm supposed to be working for, which is my colleagues, which is the people that are elected officials and decision makers, but also the public. I think it's incredibly important that we have this privilege to be able to do what we do with the integrity that we are given in these roles. Like we're able to work with integrity, and there's a lot of jobs where you get to do that, but here we get to serve the public. So feeling appreciated at work hopefully will look like people who are motivated to do a great job, to be able to be good colleagues, to do service which is what our job is supposed to be. So I'm highly motivated by that.
I see.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Hudson.
yeah, that does make that makes a lot of sense. But like the government of Canada does offer a lot of formal recognition programs and your award ceremonies for every department. Isn't that enough?
I think it depends on the kind of person you are. Appreciation can look like a lot of different things, and appreciation can look like appreciation from the institution, appreciation from individuals above you, but appreciation from your peers and colleagues. And there's formal appreciation that you just spoke about, which can mean a lot of, which can be really meaningful to some individuals. Having that recognition, being able to put it on your CV, but for others, it's a little bit more personal. And so that what appreciation can look like on an interpersonal level is just as important. And I think that's what we're going to be able to talk about and see on a more regular basis. We don't get to have the Deputy Minister Awards every month or every week, but we can certainly tell each other, and engage with each other in ways that demonstrate appreciation so that it's a habit, it's a culture, it's part of what we regularly do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's validation from your peers, from maybe your manager, is certainly a fuel, or so the extrinsic motivation that moves you forward sometimes. So the next question is going to Gina. There's actually two questions, but they're very similar, so I'm going to combine them into one. So there are a lot of ways to show someone we appreciate the work. What are the key practices, and how do you know which one they prefer?
For sure. So what we find in researching appreciation in the workplace is that there are actually 4 ways to appreciate colleagues and employees in the workplace. And the first one is the one we probably use most often, which is just, words. So it could be the simple thank you. It could be the great job. I really appreciate you helping me out on this project. Excellent work. Those types of things. So it could be on a Post-it note. It could be a Teams message. It could be an email, it could be a shout out at a meeting. So it's really just, articulating gratitude and appreciation for someone's contribution in that kind of a way. The second way to appreciate individuals is by sharing your time with them. So it could be going for a coffee, it could be, reviewing their project to provide some edits and some feedback. It's really about sort of spending some time, maybe talking about their careers, listening to them, work through a problem or share like a conflict that they're having and providing them with an ear. So it's really about spending that time, and you want to do that without distractions. So, put away your phone, maybe turn away from your computer, maybe even leave your desk or leave your office space to do that, but really try to provide some focused attention on that individual. That will allow the other person to feel appreciated. The third sort of way you can appreciate an individual is with acts of service. So that could be that you take on filing their travel claim. Like when someone does that for me and fills in all of that work, I really do feel that they value me as their colleague, and I definitely feel like they are showing me some appreciation when they do those things. It could be as simple as like bringing the photocopies that are on the photocopier and handing them out to the people that haven't had a chance to go pick them up yet. So it's really about those kinds of tangible tasks. Often, if you take a task off of someone's plate that is something that they don't enjoy particularly, they will feel even more appreciated, right? Because you're definitely recognizing that. And then the fourth one is what we call tangible gifts. And a lot of people hear about gifts in the workplace and they think that's not something that's doable. However, food is probably one of the most common gifts that we see in the workplace. And so, it is National Public Service Week. I think in the NCR today, there's some, ice cream or some frozen treats being handed out. It could be like, I know after Halloween, I usually bring in some of every employee's favorite treats, whether they're rockets or Wonder Bars, right? It's really paying attention to some of people's favorite things and then finding an opportunity to share those gifts with them. They don't have to be high value, right? They can, it's really just having listened and paid attention to that. So those are like the four types of appreciation. We often don't think about there being so many because we often just think about what lands with us individually. And so if I'm an individual who really appreciates words, and all I need to feel appreciated is a thank you, I may not recognize when perhaps my colleague goes and grabs me a coffee or brings me sort of information pamphlet from an event that they went to, a learning event, and shares the tool or resource. So sometimes the way we show appreciation is the way we typically like to receive it. And so we need to kind of expand our thinking about that. We know not everyone's the same. Not everyone likes to receive appreciation in the same way. And so we want to start maybe paying attention, see what our colleagues do. Do they give out thank you cards? Do they actually offer to, bring back a coffee from the employee for their colleague? Do they take on tasks? Like, what is it that they're doing to show appreciation? That's probably how they like to receive it as well. And so that can give us some clues into what would be most effective.
Yeah, for sure. It's being, I guess, knowing your colleagues and just, it sounds like the four methods that you described earlier it doesn't have to be, huge, right? You don't have to go out in the hallway with a speaker. You don't have to, get trophies. It sounds like those small words or small actions really does go a long way in terms of, showing, each other appreciation. So next question, I'd like to get input from both of you, since you guys are kind of like in leadership positions or have experience leading teams. So has virtual work changed the way that you demonstrate appreciation to your team or colleagues? So I guess, Andrew, I'll start with you.
Sure, thanks a lot. Food speaks to my heart. So when I was back in the office in the before times, I would bring in food and we would share food, and there was always a reason to have food. Now, when I do go into the office, if I'm leading workshops or anything, if I'm bringing the team together for any kind of reason, there's always food involved. I show appreciation not just through the food, but also by acknowledging people's individual needs. Asking if there's food allergies or intolerances, asking if there's any dietary restrictions. It's something to acknowledge, and if you can respect that, people who are, gluten intolerant and require gluten-free foods, it's really important. They can't participate in. And if we're thinking about appreciation, we want people to feel belonging, then we really have to make sure that the environment's inclusive. And even little things like bringing in food has to be inclusive as well. I think in the virtual environment, it's actually been really neat to see the use of digital tools. So I'm able to have really great one-on-one conversations where I'm not being interrupted by other things when I'm meeting with team members. And I think that has been one of the benefits of the online environment, is to be able to have that more focus on individuals when we're following up, when we're having conversations, when we're having learning moments. But it definitely does bring its challenges when we're trying to have fun. And I think that can be that's where I'm much more of I appreciate being in person more than anything else. So it's been a learning time for me, I think.
Yeah, and I would agree with everything we just heard. I mean, for sure, the virtual environment has shifted things, and I have a distributed team, so geographically, none of my employees actually live or work in the same office as I do. So, as a manager, as a leader, I've really had to make it more intentional, and so really think about how am I going to spend some time with each of my employees, and so for some, that means we have a weekly bilat because quality of time is important to them, and that's where they kind of feel appreciated. For others, maybe it's biweekly, maybe it's monthly, because they don't need that. So it's really about having those conversations with employees about what they need and what they prefer, and it's okay to ask. I know in the poll we asked the question, do you know what it takes to feel appreciated? And, have you expressed it? And there was a mixed answer. It seemed like there was just as many people who said, yes, I've expressed it, no one cares, or, I haven't said anything. And so I think it's just have those conversations in this virtual world. Like, don't treat everyone the same, give them what they need, and really adjust your style to make it most impactful and beneficial for your colleague or your employee. So I think for sure it's not a one size fits all. It is harder. I can't go hand out Halloween candy, right? Or buy someone a coffee, but I have sent a gift card because I'm not there physically to buy a coffee. Or I have, definitely thanked folks for the work that they do with a quick note. So it's just really about kind of making it a priority and then seeing how it lands with people. Asking your colleagues or your employees, hey, are you still loving this job? Are you still like engaged? Are you still feeling valued on the team? If not, how can I make that happen for you? Because I do value you. Those conversations are good to have.
Yeah, I think it's think about appreciation is some validating someone else's efforts, right? Either that's through small conversation, like you said, biolabs that shows that you at least you care, you recognize the other person's work and efforts, or if it's through what Anu you said earlier, if it's through little snacks or little muffins or a little coffee here and there. I think that's also people love that. They like to see that physical thing, so they can okay, I see that you got this for me, right? So I feel good about it. So, and like I want to ask you this: if someone does not feel appreciated at work, what can that person do to help their situation?
Well, that's a good question. Um, I've definitely felt that way at work. I've definitely felt not appreciated. I've actually in preparation for this session, I connected with some colleagues to say, what have I done to make you feel appreciated? And what do you want to see more of in the workplace? And the answers that I got were really interesting. There was a bucket of answers that I think relate to this question, and that is about actively listening. And what does it look like when you actively listen to someone? So if you don't feel appreciated, then what's happening in that dynamic? Um, are people not understanding you? Do you not feel appreciated because I think what I heard the most out of my colleagues is I really wish there was more active listening, more engagement with people, more questioning, more challenging assumptions. If you really heard what I have to say, then we would have a discussion about it instead of silence. And I think if there's ways to increase, if you don't feel appreciated, um, there's ways that you can appreciate others. Maybe that'll get back to the people that you want to hear that appreciation from. But what is it that you are like? Why do you need that appreciation, and from who? And really digging in deep and into why. Maybe you're not in the right place. Maybe you're not feeling appreciated. Maybe your work isn't being recognized for what it is. I think asking if it's someone that's beside you in terms of being a colleague at the same level, what is it about the work? What is it about you that you want them to appreciate? And are you doing that appreciation? Are you understanding them? Do they understand who you are? If it's someone that's more vertical, then I think having an honest conversation or being able to explore that in in a bilat, and I'd love to hear your answer to this one, Gina, because we sit in different places in our organizations, but being able to say, look, I'm not engaged. You know, it's really hard for that appreciation, that lack of appreciation. Rather, it's really easy for that lack of appreciation to come out in our work, and nobody wants that. And the two can get conflated, and so it can become an issue. So if you're not feeling appreciated at work, I would say the steps that I've taken are to find ways to appreciate others, find the places where I am appreciated, and maybe I need to do some self-reflection and evaluation of where do I want to be and how can I get to those places, because this is the public service. There is a place for everyone. It just might not be where you are right now, and that's not necessarily about you as an individual. It may not be about individuals. It may just be about bad timing. But sometimes you're not in the right place, and that's a really hard thing to look at and understand.
Yes, June, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I mean, I have lots of thoughts on this. I think the first thing is awareness. So first of all, you need to be aware of like your level of engagement. And, if you find yourself sort of maybe not wanting to show up for work, right? Maybe you're kind of, whether it's kind of late or your absenteeism goes up, or you're not putting your hand up in meetings, or you're, not really sharing resources or tools or tips with your colleagues, you find yourself kind of sitting back in your role, then that's probably a sign that you're feeling some disengagement. And a lot of times when you're feeling disengagement, it is because you feel that you're not appreciated, that your work isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference, right? And so, no one person can all of a sudden turn that around. It really is a 50-50 sort of responsibility. So, if you find yourself feeling disengaged, it could be due to a lack of appreciation. And often that's what we see, and that's what sort of the evidence shows. So what I would suggest is if you're in that situation, first you have to have that conversation with yourself. Like, what is it that I'm missing? And I think there's always folks who say, I don't need to be appreciated. I get paid every 2 weeks. I'm just going to do my job, and that's all I need. But what science has shown us and what studies have said is that everybody needs to feel valued, to feel that they have a purpose. And so I think when you don't feel that your work is valued or that your work has a purpose, you're going to kind of feel that disengagement. So think about that. Then I would say look to see, have they tried to show you appreciation and you're just not seeing it because it's not your preferred style? So are they telling you thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you all the time? And you're like, oh, just tell everyone thank you, right? It's not kind of meaningful to me. I would rather they just buy me a coffee, or I would rather they just, send me on a course that I've been wanting to go so I can learn a new skill. So really kind of think, is it that they've been trying to show you appreciation and you're just not seeing it or feeling it because it's not your style? So maybe take a look at that. And then for sure, you have to have that conversation like, hey, I'm just feeling a little bit like I'm not feeling like I want to go the extra mile. My discretionary effort is not where it normally is. I'm not super excited about the work I'm doing. I feel that maybe I'm not leveraged, my work isn't being leveraged in the best way. How do you think, right? And that might open up the conversation where the person, your manager, your colleague might say, you're amazing. I'm just dealing with some people who aren't amazing right now, and they're draining all my energy, and which is why I maybe haven't been giving you some feedback, right, at this point. So I think you kind of can open up that conversation. And then I think it's, the public service is a big place. And we know that people tend to quit their bosses, their organizations due to a lack of appreciation, a lack of good fit. There's lots of other places where you can go where you can kind of find that better fit. And I think that's okay. I think that's one of the best things about the public service is the variety. And I was a career counselor at the University of Manitoba earlier in my career. And I truly believe that every employee should love their job. And if you love your job and you're passionate about it, you will do good work and you will serve your clients well. And so I believe that no one, is going to be responsible for that but you. So those are some of my thoughts on how that all fits together.
I follow up really quickly on that because Gina,
Yes, please.
what you said about everyone's got a place. I truly believe that too, and I think when we think about when we dig deeper into people and we try and remember like who they are and where they're coming from and trying to meet them where they are, that's really important. So when if you know that somebody has you know certain considerations in their life that really do need to be accommodated and that's temporary or maybe it's permanent, but showing appreciation for that, for what makes them who they are, is incredibly important, and recognizing that sometimes sometimes I think people don't feel appreciated because they are coming with different skill sets or different ways of thinking and doing that aren't necessarily what we see as traditional bureaucratic ways of doing things. And the public service is changing. We have all kinds of reasons to really take a hard look at our demographics, to take a hard look at who it exactly is participating in the public service. And that's showing us that there's a wide variety of people that needs to come in. And those people that are underrepresented really do represent different ways of thinking and doing. So our traditional ways of, how do we show appreciation may need to be informed by being culturally aware, by being culturally sensitive, by really thinking about people's health and physical and emotional needs. They look different, and there's different life courses. People are at different stages of their life where I think earlier in my career, I think I would have appreciated certain things. And now at this point in my career, I appreciate different things. So giving people room to evolve and to breathe and to understand who they are and giving those opportunities for not just hard skill development, but soft skill development, I think is really important.
See, it's exactly what you said. Both you said earlier. I think lots of good things has been shared, especially that self-reflection part, and also the emphasis on, the public sector is huge, right? You got to find the right fit, and then you got to start to recognize some symptoms, right? Perhaps you're not feeling motivated, you're not feeling waking up early to attend meetings, right? Like just recognizing some signs that you're not feeling appreciated, and how you go on. Perhaps having a conversation with your manager or other colleagues, where you start, start reflecting, and perhaps maybe show appreciation to others, and start some sort of a cycle feedback loop from there. There's a last preset question. I feel like a lot of that has been answered already. So just perhaps really quickly, if you have anything to share. The last question is, what are some signs that you do not feel appreciated and it is impacting your work? So I guess that has been covered on already, but um, like how would one differentiate um, the symptoms from, is it because they're not feeling appreciated, or it is because some other factors?
Well, I would say like irritability, I think is one that everyone sort of knows when they're just being triggered a little bit more quickly. And I would say, this applies to your home life as well as your work life. And so often, even at home, if you're not feeling appreciated by your family, your partner, your children, your friends, often you will be more irritable. You'll have less patience, less tolerance, and you'll just feel like in a negative kind of headspace. And so I think, yes, while there's like absenteeism and lack of wanting to raise your hand and be involved in meetings and participate and take on more learning opportunities or more, training opportunities, I think just being kind of really aware of kind of your response. It could be even like, your body language, kind of the words you're using, your tone. You'll probably find irritability, I find, is one that's is a good signal. And like said, this is completely transferable to your personal life. And often, in your personal life, if you're not feeling appreciated, you're not going to just wait for your birthday, that one day of the year, to be appreciated. You kind of want to hear it and feel it throughout the year. And so as we celebrate National Public Service Week, I think this week, a lot of public servants are feeling appreciated with the award ceremonies and the different treats. But it's not enough to carry us through the entire year. So while everyone's feeling great, maybe this week, next week you'll probably sense some irritability in yourself or in colleagues, and that could be, definitely related to that appreciation.
Yeah, I totally agree with Gina. When I think about when the times that I have felt underappreciated, my inner child, my stress response is coming out. My default patterns are not the person that I professionally and personally am normally. It's really touching on something that's very deep, and so some of those behaviors aren't the most productive. Sometimes they are, irritability for sure, disengagement for sure, but also, what am I saying? I'm probably being a little bit more short tempered. I'm probably being a little bit more passive aggressive than what I would normally want to be, or what are my thoughts? What are the triggering thoughts that are going through my head? And, if I'm finding that I am, you know, every time I see a certain person's name or every time I see a certain person's email, I just have this response because like I just don't feel good anymore. Um, that's why that self-awareness that Gina spoke about is so important, and really understanding yourself and knowing yourself in order to fill that gap and
Yeah.
to replenish that, to fill that bucket that people have.
And I would add, like, feel free to engage the help of those around you. So if you're complaining a lot or venting a lot about someone at work, something at work to your family or your friends, you can always have that conversation with them and say, like, hey, am I venting about something too often or more than regularly? Or because they sometimes will be your mirror and say, like, you should probably get a new job. If your friends are telling you should get a new job, that's a sign there's something wrong with where you're at in terms of your headspace at work. You're not, well aligned. So kind of recruit the help, right, from those around you to kind of help you if you don't have that self-awareness, to be able for them to kind of poke you and nudge you to take a look and take a breath and think about, how am I feeling about this role I'm in, about this team I'm with, that sort of thing.
Right, sure. Now that being said, we're gonna have to wrap up that section of the conversation. We have a little bit of time. I would like to dedicate that to answering some questions from the audience. So let me just pull up what I see here. So this person says, can I give appreciation to a manager from a subordinate position, and how do you recommend this can be done without coming off as unauthentic?
That's a fun question. I don't see why not. I think people are people. You got to appreciate them. When I've appreciated my manager in the past, I've definitely, you know, I've tried to just be my authentic self to do so. And I think if your manager knows you well enough, your manager will know what's your authentic self and what's not. But I don't think that there's ever a bad time to show that appreciation.
And I would say, in addition to being authentic, you want to be timely and you want to be specific, because that always helps too. So, if I want to say to my boss, like, I really enjoy working with you because I feel that you're super accessible when I need feedback or I have questions. Like, that's what I appreciate about the way my boss manages me, or that you give me a lot of autonomy, you trust me. That's what I appreciate. So try to just not say, like, I really appreciate you being my boss. You're great. Because that sometimes, is not specific enough to keep that behavior going, whatever it is that you see you like, that you want to continue, and B, may not be specific enough to the individual, right? So I think whenever you can make it about the individual is a good thing. So try and use an example to just emphasize what it is. And of course, the more timely you can be, the better. So if it was because in a meeting they did recognize you for your contribution to the larger project, or maybe it's that they forwarded on your email with your advice onto their superior and you were recognized for providing that advice, right? Whatever that is, let them know.
Right. Um, And this person said, so my boss thanked everybody in one message. I assume he is probably some a generic email, and that makes it feel insincere. So how can this employee, I guess, express that without, being too, I don't know, direct or hostile?
So I think that absolutely like it, right? So this is the sometimes it's a result of just lack of time because you need time to really think about how you want to show appreciation and take the time to write the words. So, this is something we often see. Thanks everyone for a great job for, on this project or, for meeting the deadline. I think as an employee, you can go back to your manager and say, I really appreciate the message. However, can you sort of let me know what you appreciated most about my contribution? I'm really interested in that feedback. Or like if you don't feel that there was anything you should be thanked for, it's okay to say that too, is say that, on this file, I didn't really feel like I had a contribution. I don't want to take away from the contribution from others. So feel free to just, single people out depending on who has made that contribution. Like I'm okay with that, right? So I think it's just, again, having that conversation, be specific, articulate kind of what your intention is with why you're sharing this, like, just so that in the future I can really understand what part of my job you appreciate or what skill is really valuable. I think there's nothing wrong with providing that feedback.
I think it also helps to understand that like some people are limited. As much as we want people to meet our needs, that might not always happen. People do the best they can with the tools that they have, but not everybody has the same tools, and not everybody knows how to use them. Um, I guess in this example, if there's someone that's, if there's a manager that's sending out a mass email, well, their intention is there, but they may not have the time, but they may not, that's not maybe how they demonstrate appreciation. Or maybe they're not used to demonstrating appreciation. There's some people that need practice. There's some people that need to take Gina's course in understanding
Sure.
what appreciation looks like in the workplace. I suspect that there's at least a couple of people online that have had managers like that. Um, it can look different, but I try and remember that people are limited. I'm limited, and so recognizing that people do the best that they can is really important. If there's a real need that I have to hear that or to feel appreciated in a certain way, um, then I have to be able to express that in the right way, with the right time, with the right specificity, as Gina's recommended, um, in order to have those needs met.
I see. Interesting. I'm due to time. I'm going to ask this one last question from this attendee. So this person said, appreciation often feels very unpersonal. So a lot of the recognition programs are formal, right? Like, but is there a development opportunity to make it more personal, like the talent pools or any personal advancements?
So
I'm
I
assuming like
mhm. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm assuming this person means like instead of being formally recognized, you get this trophy or like a frame. Can this manager or management show appreciation by, I guess, placing them, like furthering, advancing their career? Is that an option? I'm
So
assuming that's
I mean, absolutely, right? And that's when we talk about the four different styles of appreciation. So like a formal recognition with an award ceremony where you get to select your gift from the iBoutique catalog and you can get binoculars or luggage or, a bracelet, a watch, those kinds of things. Those are the tangible gifts. So for many people that really, has a significant impact and shows people that they feel appreciated. For others, it's a developmental opportunity. It's, can you send me on this course? Can you take me with you to that senior management meeting so I can listen to the conversation and learn on how to, present a deck or pitch an idea or provide some, constructive criticism. So, again, it's how do you feel appreciated? And sometimes it's being given a developmental opportunity and acting. Those are other gifts that, managers can give to employees to show that they are appreciated.
Cool. So that's that's an option. So hopefully that answers your question. Perfect. I think we're just closing in our time. I just want to thank Anu and Gina for being our guests. Again, there's certainly a lot of wisdom, knowledge has been shared, and hopefully offered our audiences a bit more insight on the topic of employee appreciation. That being said, if you want to learn more about this topic or any other relevant information, please visit the Federal Youth Network Wiki resource page. Thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it back to your hosts. Olivier?
Thank you so much, Hudson. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Anu. This was an amazing chat. Before we let everyone go, we have one last polling question. We will not be sharing the results of that one. It's just for internally to know if this session was a good use of your time. So if you can take a second to answer this. And otherwise, like Hudson said, all our videos for the Get to Know Your Team series will be on our YouTube, are already on our YouTube channel, and this one will also be on our YouTube channel within probably 24 hours. I wish you all an amazing rest of your day. And this session, if you want to see it again and you loved it so much, it's going to happen in French on another link in 15 minutes. So thank you all and see you soon.